Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And we have more amazing Onyx Storm content, there's the word, up for you today. We're going to be going over chapters 37 through 42. But first, follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, all the things. We really appreciate it. We do have a review of the week, Ellie, from Apple Podcasts. This is from our blowers, titled Dear BBB, Best Book Besties. 5 stars. Man, I have never fallen in love so fast with the podcast. I adore you too and think of my morning commute as a phone call with my besties. Oh, that is honestly our goal. I laugh and 1000% also add my 2 cents to the conversation, including my own Disney quotes. I recommend you guys to anyone I know reading ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, etc. You guys deserve 100 stars, and if I could bake you cookies, I would. Excited for all your coming podcasts. Call you later, besties. That is probably my favorite review. That is
I
so
was thinking
sweet.
The same thing. I was like, this is exactly what we go for. I love the energy. Love it.
I would also accept cookies, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I will. No, this review is better than cookies. Thank you so much, our blowers. And I don't know if you've heard, joking, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, we have 2 merch items. 2, count them, 2. We have totes and we have stickers. So if you're interested, go ahead and head over to our website, lamebcpodcast.com, and you can get yours there.
Yes, and if you are part of our Patreon, you will get 15% off. If you're not part of our Patreon, maybe it's time to join. We are going through Finale, the 3rd and final book of the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber, and we just recorded our first episode today. It was so fun. It's so juicy. Tons of banter, personal stories. If you're into that, you might be into this.
If you're into that.
We have one Patreon shout out. It is Haley with a Y. Hi, Haley. And
thank you for being here.
Yes. I do want to mention at the end, because we're not coming up to it, but we are approaching it slowly. The end of this Onyx Storm deep dive, we are going to spend 1, if not 2, if not 3 episodes after that, just talking theories. I have been sent a million theories. I love them. I'm going to include a bunch in here that pertain to our current chapters, but there are already theories that I am spiraling over that we just need to include in a post-show situation. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
Get ready for that. That is coming. Send us your theories now if you want me to read them over, Melissa to read them over, and we'll just kind of talk about them in those episodes. So
yeah. And if you are an OG listener, our good friend T-Gart Taylor will be joining us for at least one of those episodes, and she's the queen of theories, has tons of her own as well that we will be adding to this, plus ours also. But it's going to be good. You're not going to want to miss any of those. With that being said, we do have spoiler warnings. We will be talking all things Iron Flame and Fourth Wing as well. So I would assume that you've read those if you are listening to this, but just in case, nothing is off the table from previous books. However, we will not be going past chapter 42. So if you have not read that far, that's fine. You're safe. Nothing will be spoiled for the ending. We won't be going past the chapters in this specific episode, but we will be talking everything before and previous books.
Yes. Okay, let's get started. So we have a pregame thought, and this was brought in by one of our followers. I'll give them a shout out in a second. Everyone, turn your pages, class, turn your pages to page 40 in Onyx Storm. And if you're on the Kindle, it's page 69. This is chapter 4. Xaden had just left with Brennan and Llewellyn. Do we say Llewellyn or Llewellyn?
I say Llewellyn. Yeah.
Like that. Brennan and Llewellyn
like
to read some missives and learn some news. Left behind in their room is Violet, Mira, and Bodhi, and Imogen, who all showed up at Violet and Xaden's room unannounced. Mira hands Violet a new conduit from Felix and the wooden rune disc that's going to allow the Flyers their powers once they attach that to the ward. This is that chapter, okay? Then they start to leave when Brennan is seen coming back. And this is the next sentence. And I want everybody to turn their listening ears on. Quote, Bodhi and Imogen both nod, and I blink as they start walking away. Hey, what did you need? Why were you waiting? I ask Imogen. Bodhi responds that they were just checking on her, and Violet assumes it is to make sure that Xaden hadn't killed her. Is this assumption correct? This theory comes from Helen Malone, and this could be huge, aiding in our thought about Imogen. When she wrote this, the math symbols in my head started to swirl. She thinks that Imogen, Bodhi, and Mira interrogated Violet here, and then Imogen erased the memories of the questions they asked. The point being that one sentence where Violet gets all the gear from Mira and then blinks, looks at them, and says, "Hey, what did you need? Why were you waiting?" And Bodhi is just like, "Oh, we were just checking on you." Which,
no,
real.
No, I pulled it. I'm going to read it. But he says, just wanted to make sure you were ... getting some sleep. That is so suspect.
I know. Now, it makes sense to what Violet's justification is. Oh, they just want to see that I'm still alive, that Xaden didn't kill me. But did they? Or were they asking some things that they didn't want her to remember?
That's craziness. I did not think twice about that, but now I am thinking 18 times about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That also, is so crazy.
Saw this online, and maybe we should talk about this too. Didn't put this in the outline, but it's worth being said. If Imogen can erase memories, can Dane pick them back up?
Ooh, that is an interesting... Oh, that's really interesting. I guess it would we would need to know a little bit more about her signet. Can she just erase them from like your forethought, or is it like erasing it from existence? Because I think if she just can erase it from like your subconscious, but it still happened, that feels like something where it'd be possible if that Dane would be able to pick up that memory. Because it's not like gone. She just makes it to where you can't remember it. However, if she's like essentially erasing time, then I would think that he couldn't. But we just need to, I need more details on what does
certainly
memory
don't think
erasing.
She's erasing time, but I'm curious if those memories are stored somewhere deep inside the brain. They're just not at the forefront of someone's mind. Exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So,
that would be an interesting twist if she does end up becoming like a big bad, and then not that he needs to be redeemed, but that would be a really interesting way to use Dane's signet, I think.
Right. Okay. We'll get into more of that with the coming chapters. So let's start. Chapter 37. We pick back up after such a cliffhanger where the chef stabbed Riddick with a knife.
Chef. Also, I just want to clarify, a couple of episodes ago, I accidentally said chef's kiss when I was instead of saying chef's kiss. It was funny. You had to be there. Go back and listen to it. But a couple of people in the comments thought I said Jeff's kiss, not chef. And I wish I had said Jeff, because that to me is so much funnier than chef. But that's why Ellie said chef. So if just in case you haven't listened to that episode, there's the little backstory on that.
I don't know. I'm partial to chef and not Jeff, but that's just a me thing.
It's so much more random. Like chef sounds like I made a mistake in saying chef. I almost forgot the real word for a second. But like Jeff's kiss, like what? If someone just said, "Oh my gosh, that's so Jeff's kiss," I'd be like, "I'm gonna need you to explain that to me."
All right, you sold me. That's good. Violet is reeling after Riddick has just been stabbed. But in a stunning turn of events, the knife only stabbed him through the jacket. So, do we feel safe about Riddick now? Like, is his death off the table since Rebecca's already teasered it? Is she really going to kill him in this book now that it's already been like no, it's okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. And maybe this is an unpopular opinion. Not one part of me thought he was actually going to die in this.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely thought he was going to die in this.
No, I know. And I know we kind of talked about that in the last episode. I wanted to wait to say that until we knew that he was okay, because I knew that was going to be like the very first thing we talked about in this one. But not because Rebecca is not Sarah. She will kill people off, as we have seen. But I'm like, she's starting to develop him a little bit more. If she was going to kill him, I would think it'd be like a Liam situation where it's like the end of the book, not like the late middle of it, and not in like such a random way.
But with how these chapters have just been pop, pop, boom, bam, beep, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam. You know what I'm saying? Everything's been happening. It would not surprise me if she killed someone mid-book. I'm at that point.
You're right.
They fed human flesh to jaguars. Anything is possible.
But that was such an inconsequential character to have fed to a jaguar.
But that scene was so wildly random is what I'm saying. That it's just nothing is off the table. What was that?
Everything you're saying is so right. I'm not there. I have not gotten there yet with thinking that she's actually going to do it. That has not hit me yet. And so I'm still in my little bubble of thinking that authors don't kill off people until the end.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. And I don't know how I'll ever actually leave that bubble.
Okay, well, Violet and Riddick return to the chaotic scene where Garrick is dying on the floor, as is Ferris, as is Talia, as is the triumvirate. Triumvirate. Dang, that word is hard.
You got it.
It's like Oprah with poison. You get poisoned, and you get poisoned.
You start throwing up and dying. You start writhing on the ground and stop breathing. You.
However, Violet has figured out the cure for Garrick thanks to her dad's diligent note-taking. The answer is figs.
I wish it was something different, but that's okay.
Oh, shoot. I wrote some. Okay, I'll come back to this. Ferris is still sitting on his high horse on the ground, telling Violet that this is their war, not his and his people's war, after she explains to him begrudgingly that they shouldn't be competing against each other. She tells him that he is estupido because the Venin won't care that there's no magic here. They're gonna come to drain them.
Yes,
and Garrick,
exactly.
I believe it is Arik comes back and gives Garrick the figs crushed up in water. Garrick drinks the figs. This is where I messed up, and I said I was coming back to this. I wrote figs. I understood figs, but my brain and my heart told me dates. And so I was like, have you ever had dates? It don't work like that. You can't just crush dates up into water.
Like that. Well, you know what, though? This is a book, Ellie. If they want to crush dates up and put them in water, gosh darn it, that's what they're gonna do.
That would be such a mistake because those things
would be nasty.
Is squishy.
They are. Have you ever eaten one?
I have had dates. I make bacon wrap dates.
Oh, that sounds good.
They're good.
So the first time I think I've ever straight up eat, I've had that. I've had some I want to say it was something with bacon and dates and goat cheese. I don't know. Delicious. Yeah. So good. I've had all these things before, but I've never prepared them myself. The first time in my entire life that I've actually eaten a date was a handful of years ago when I was trying to get my body to go into labor and someone said eating dates was going to do it. Spoiler alert, it did not work. No, I don't like them. And that's what I've learned. I only like them if bacon and goat cheese accompany them. It's not, it's fine. It's a texture thing for me, which is funny because I just don't usually have a texture issue. Not a fan of dates. I don't like how sticky they are. And the taste is okay, but it's not the same as processed cane sugar. That's for sure. So
that's fair. And all I'm thinking is they're like, oh, crush those dates up in the water. I'm like, you're just going to have one solid clump of goo date on the bottom of this water cup.
If he can't breathe, as heck is not going to be able to breathe, swallow that date.
The good news is Garrick wakes up, which is good news for Ferris, because if Garrick did not wake up, Xaden would have popped him like a zit. Ferris...
Which actually I kind of wish... I don't want Garrick to die, but I would have liked to see the zit popping of Ferris. That would have been fun to read about.
Ain't that the truth? Ferris demands that they didn't win, even though, once again, he's dying on the floor.
Loser.
I know. He's dying on the floor, and they just cured their friend. Yikes, my guy. But that sets Xaden off as much as it did me, because he comes through with a southpaw and lands a nice shiner on Ferris's face, crunching bones.
Here comes the zit popping.
I know. Riddick then intercedes, and Xaden turns a glare on him. Violet recognizes quickly that Xaden is not himself in this moment and hops in between them to de-escalate the situation. Oh, I was scared. Violet then takes over the political negotiations, which involve threats, rumors, potential dragonfire. You had to read it. Ferris agrees to the alliance, but right before he does, he says, "The eyes. I should have recognized your eyes. You're Asher Daxton's girl." Now, I want to pause here because I think we need to talk about this last name situation. So do we. We know Asher took Lilith's last name because it was more powerful. She had a higher rank than him and all good. But Could there be more to that? Could he have been hiding whatever he was doing on the islands by going by Daxton instead of Sorengale, or have been going by this name to protect his children?
Also, honestly, I said this a few episodes ago I think it was just last week when we were talking about the possibility of Garrick being Xaden's brother and what the reality of that was. And I was like, made a comment about how a man being pregnant with Garrick instead of his mom. And I'm like, wait, hold on. They're not seahorses.
They're not seahorses.
I'm bringing that back because her dad taking her mom's last name, like all this stuff, he just is giving seahorse to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't already have the story of knowing that her mom was pregnant with her. I wouldn't have been surprised if he just took on all of the feminine roles in this relationship and somehow gave birth to Violet.
It was just him. Lil had nothing to do with it. So, back to the theories portion of this.
Yes. I also have something actual to say about this.
Please, yeah.
I absolutely 100% believe that there is way more to this. I almost said his maiden name, but it is him going by his given name, Daxton. And we are absolutely going to learn more about it. I am stoked. I love just the layers of, once again, love how she's given us a reveal before anything, so now we just have more questions than answers.
Right.
And I'm excited for mommy Rebecca to give me more for this.
So I have a couple things to add as well. I saw some theories on Threads, and this comes from Rosie's Bookmark. She says, there's another indirectly related theory on the names. By the time Asher dies, his military rank is Lieutenant Colonel. He went by Sorengale, and he wrote the unpublished research now in Violet's possession. However, the guide to excelling in the scribe quadrant is by a Colonel Daxton. Colonel is superior to Lieutenant Colonel. So, the theory is that someone else wrote that book who may be a relative of Violet's. Perhaps her grandmother on her dad's side.
Ooh, interesting.
Grandma Niara, yeah. And then someone else replied to this, Mint Kitten 07. It's either his dad or granddad. Asher was a legacy. There are two Daxtons. One is him. The other is the grandfather. So that could have gotten a little juicier.
I need to know more about Grandpa Daxton then.
Yeah. That's your second theory for the day, friends. The quest squad is off again with 2 aisles left to find the Irids. Violet brings up the Sunshield Rune that she's carrying, and I have a thought about this again. Here comes the third theory today. That's developing further, especially upon second mention of this rune. So, remember how we discussed the idea that Mira could knowingly or unknowingly be shielding Violet from reaching powers of the sky and the sun and things like that? Should she be able to harness the power of the sky rather than just lightning? And if we remember that one quote from Felix in Iron Flame where he says, you wield pure power that takes the form of lightning because that's what you're most comfortable shaping it as.
Yeah.
I think we're freaking out about that. I think that plays exactly into this. There's more. There's also a part where the Venin tell Violet she could command the sky to surrender all its power. Now, here's something I cannot confirm, but if you guys have read this and you know what's going on, please message me and confirm the page number because I was up late scouring for this information, but I could not find it. But I have read it is rumored that Violet recognized the rune on the disc that Mira gave her as one that matched a dagger that Xaden gave her in Fourth Wing, one of the 12 daggers that were runed to protect her. And if that's the case, this could literally be the reason that she's been blocked from the sun's power this entire time, from book 1 to now. So it's not just now that she's being blocked.
You know, it's so funny that you bring that up because as you're saying it, it feels familiar to me too. Like, I feel like I remember it felt like an offhanded thought that she had of like, oh, I recognize this from the dagger, the end. Like, that's it. And like never mentioned again. But I would also have to go back and scour to find that.
Mira gives Violet the rune in chapter 22. And all that it says about it is that it's a rune that she didn't recognize. And so apparently my book's missing a page unless it happened in between that, where she's like, actually, I do recognize this, and I just skipped over it. So if you guys know, I would be so thankful if you would send me the page number, because I would love to confirm this theory. But as of now, all I have is the fact that she's currently being protected from the sun, and there are all these nods to you harness the power of the sky.
You know, it's interesting that you're bringing this up too, because I feel like in these next couple of chapters, whenever she uses her signet, and maybe this is me just not paying attention before and now paying a little bit more attention because of our theory about this, but I've noticed that anytime she channels, anytime she uses her lightning, it says like lightning struck and thunder followed. That makes me feel like her signet is growing, and it's not just lightning, like it is her power is growing, and so she's starting to manifest more of the power of the sky. It does get a little dicey with like what's the difference between controlling weather and lightning.
Yes.
But I do think that Rebecca will make that very clear. Also, I saw, this is a little bit of a sidebar, but I saw an interview with Rebecca the other day, and it said, "What's your favorite signet?" And she said it hasn't been written yet.
Yes, I saw that.
I wonder if that is this, and she's kind of lying, like not really, but like kind of, because we haven't seen what her full signet is yet.
Yeah.
Or
well,
potentially.
No, wait. I don't know if you watched the rest of that. Then she said, or someone else asked the question, how much of Violet's signet are we seeing with the current like lightning wielding? She said 10%.
Shut your mouth.
I'm
I
being
did not
so
see
serious.
that part.
Yes. Chills.
Oh my gosh. So then to me, that is like absolutely okay. She has more. What else could you do with lightning? I mean, probably more than I can think of. I'm just a silly little girl, but still, like, lightning is pretty straightforward. It's lightning.
Right. I have a bit more to add onto this theory, but it cannot be spoken of until we are in those chapters. So we will move on for now, and we will put a pin in this. The squad lands on Zilna. This isle is partial to Zinal, and if you couldn't tell by the name, it's the god of luck. The greeting is entirely different, as what seems like the whole of the isle is now waving and smiling. So sus to me. I don't
Honestly,
trust it for a second. Too friendly.
Same. I was like, what the heck? But then at the same time, I got really hopeful, because I'm like, oh, if they're getting excited, that means they're not nervous about dragons. So I'm like, maybe they're excited because that means more dragons, because the other dragons are already there.
Exactly.
How lucky would it be that they found the seventh breed on this isle?
Very lucky indeed. It's clear that the isle was expecting the squad, but the craziest part that I haven't even said yet is there's a tinge, a small feeling of magic here.
Once again, bolstering my thought that there are dragons there.
There are dragons. I'm feeling it too. Chapter 38. It warms the heart of this old gal to read about dragons and their riders' bonds being restored. I'll tell you what.
I think that's my favorite line you've ever said in any of our episodes.
More than that, though, Xaden and Violet's bond is also back in place, and we all sigh in relief, don't we? In the comfort of their own heads, Xaden makes Violet swear that she will never put herself between him and anyone else ever again, aka when she intervened between him and Riddick. Yep. But in true fashion, she tells him she decides her limits, end of story. My girl.
And that's why we love Violet in these books, or this book specifically.
It is at that moment that they realize the emissary of Zilna is on her way over, and their series of unfortunate events challenge is here in order to secure an alliance to see. I swear, each one of these islands, and they're like, we're going to challenge you, is it's a series of unfortunate events. It's just the most bizarre, weird situation I've ever read. I love it.
I never read the book because I didn't read as a kid, and Jim Carrey freaked me the freak out when they made that into a movie, so I don't know what you're talking about. None of this is familiar to me.
That is one of my biggest comfort movies, I have to be honest with you.
I believe it, and that's okay. Maybe we'll watch it, but now that I'm an adult. But Jim Carrey scared me when I was growing up.
So the challenge here, in order to secure an alliance, is to see what gifts Zinal has chosen for them, and then they must not complain about any of them. What in the Sam heck? If they do complain, it reveals that they cannot roll with the punches, which is apparently what Zilna is all about with the luck and such. The squad agrees to play, and personally, my stomach sinks with this.
Me
I'm like,
too.
there's no way this is just like, congratulations and goodbye. And also we have your dragons. There's no way.
I know. Well, and that's where I'm like, oh shoot, something bad is gonna happen, because I mean, that's just what it is. Like, that's exactly how they're setting this up. But you're not allowed to complain. You're not allowed to talk back or anything. Well, I'm like, well, there's quite the group of characters in this quest squad.
100% here.
No chance Riddick is going to keep his mouth shut. So, like, what kind of impending doom is that going to bring on them? Like,
oh my gosh, 100%. I was like, someone dies here. No doubt absolutely. In my mind.
Here's the death.
So, I know. And I truly didn't think it was going to be Riddick's because of that previous teaser. I didn't think she was going to be like, spared ya, killed ya. I thought it was going to be. I actually think I
would have appreciated. I mean, I think I would appreciate something like that. Honestly, like, it would suck. But the teaser and then the like, no, but just yes, actually, like, I think the like jump scare of that, I'd be like, wow, I hated that. But way to go, Rebecca. Good job.
Maybe I couldn't tell you unless it happened, and since we're on this chapter, thank goodness. But also not, I guess. So something to note: Violet is wobbly here because she's hot. And Xaden makes a point to ask if she's dizzy, once again aiding to the pregnancy rumors.
That's just all I'm gonna say.
I mean, she's really hitting that, like, oh, I'm nauseous, so I'm dizzy, oh, I'm fatigued, heavily.
Which it could be other things, but isn't that what she wants us to think?
She always makes us think it's other things, and that's why we're crazy now. I'm paranoid about everything. Everyone draws a card and receives whatever weird things are listed on the card. But we, as a group, as a collective, need to reflect on these things, because I saw an interview with Rebecca where she specifically said every single thing right now given from Zinel has a purpose in the next 2 books.
Shut your mouth.
I'm being so serious.
What? I did not. I missed that interview too. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Please tell me you have every single item listed.
No, I came unprepared. Just kidding. Of course I have them.
Of course I do.
So Mira. All right. She gets wine. I cannot think of a single thing outside of just party, enjoy, drink.
Yep. Okay.
Marin, 2 orange tunics. I have a theory here. 2 resembles to me her brothers. There's 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
The fact that they're orange specifically makes me wonder if one of these aisles, because they all kind of have like this color-coded situation, if one of them has orange, and that's going to symbolize she needs to move her brothers, and they're going to spend some time in this aisle to figure out something else in the next books.
Do we think that it's specific to each person who gets them, or do we think that it's just specific for the rest of the books? Because
good
potentially,
question.
But I'm also wondering if it's because my first thought when you said this has nothing to do with anything but orange, it made me think Jack, because he's allergic to oranges. But if it's specific to each individual character, then what you said, yes, that probably makes a lot more sense.
I'm partial to thinking it's specific because of the kinds of gifts that were given out.
True.
It makes some of them just make more sense to me. Dane got slapped. I think that's just there for pure joy for Rebecca. I can't justify that one.
If she said every single one of these things, my guess is that Salone slaps him at some point.
Oh, maybe like a betrayal of some sort. Yeah. Again. Ooh, good thought.
No, maybe not him getting betrayed. More of just like a love quarrel, like she just gets mad.
Slap.
She seems like someone who would slap if she gets upset.
Absolutely she does. Also, any writer in the entire quadrant does.
That's
Garrick gets a rusted steel bucket.
See, I remembered someone getting a bucket, and that is the one that I'm the second most curious about how that's gonna play in.
Right? Wait, I have a thought. It just came to me. Wait, no, go ahead. You.
No, I was just gonna say we haven't gotten to the one that I'm the most curious about, but it'll be very obvious once we do.
Okay. Garrick with the rusted steel bucket. When do buckets rust? When they are covered in water and dry like that, right? What water were we just referring to in the past chapters? The aisle that was aquaphobic.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if he goes back for some reason.
That feels way too specific.
Way too cone.
Like, what's the point of a bucket?
Yeah, way too steel. Wait, what is that? The tinfoil cone hat. Way too much. Okay.
I like it. It's way better than anything I was going to say. The first thing I thought of was chum bucket.
See, it puts me to fishing, though. It puts me to ocean. It puts me to, like, the sea.
It put me to SpongeBob. I don't know if we can say that it puts me to fishing.
And a literal chum bucket.
No, it made me think of the chum bucket.
That's so good. All right. Arik, fractured hand mirror that cuts his thumb when handed to him.
See, this one is way.
This is ominous.
Ominous was the exact word I was going to use. Man, I love Rebecca. I loved how reading this, I'm like, what random crap are they all getting? But I not now knowing that she said that, and she's a genius. A broken that cuts his hand mirror that cuts his thumb. The fact that it specifically cuts his thumb is what is intriguing me the most, honestly.
Maybe he needs to do some
Packing this away.
Maybe he needs to do some kind of self-reflection, is going to realize that he has to die to himself, break himself somehow, and sacrifice with the blood, what would represent the blood. Could be something similar to that. I don't know.
No, I mean, he's a prince. It could be like the line of Navarre. Ooh. Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right.
Xaden gets an empty glass box with pewter hinges and edges. Could not give you one theory about this yet.
Mysterious that is.
So mysterious.
What is the pewter? The fact that it's specifically called out with pewter hinges and edges. Mm-hmm. Pewter is a kind of metal. It's like a goldish color.
No, it's silver.
Silvery gold.
No,
we had a pewter. Well, I disagree, and maybe I'm colorblind. We had a pewter colored car when I was a kid, and it felt goldish to me.
Light silver to deep charcoal with bluish gray undertones.
Maybe I just don't know what pewter is.
Did you have a gold car?
Maybe. No, it was like a purplish gold. I thought it was pewter.
Well, I have no idea what this glass box could be. Maybe, and I also don't know.
Wait, did it say it was glass?
Yeah, with pewter hinges and edges. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious if these aren't more symbolic or literal items. Like, Onyx feels very symbolic. Xaden's feels symbolic. Violet's feels literal to me.
What was Violet's?
So Violet's is a broken compass, but broken in the sense it doesn't exactly point north immediately when she looked at it. And I feel like this is a nod to the Pirates of the Caribbean, where Jack Sparrow's compass points him to the thing he wants most. And if Xaden goes off the deep end in the next book, or if she needs to find Indarna or Taryn or something, this compass is going to point her to that.
I feel like hers is more symbolic though too. Honestly, it could be exactly what you said, just minus the fact that this physical item is going to take her to them. Like, she feels lost. She's going, if her Xaden, who we would all probably agree is her true north, goes like off the deep end, loses himself, she's going to feel lost, and that's why she is the broken compass. Yeah. Like, so it could go either way. These all do. Like, the rusty bucket feels also very symbolic for Garrick. It doesn't feel like... Okay, now that we're thinking symbolic, though, do you think
more literal to me? I don't know.
What? How literal could a rusty bucket be, though? That's what
you never know till no one knows. It could be someone throws a knife at him and he picks up this bucket and stops it. I don't know.
See, the reason I'm thinking it's more symbolic, if we're going off of the symbolic thoughts, and also the I meant to say going off the theory that he is Xaden's brother. It could be that he feels like the leftovers, or like when he's gonna learn that like Xaden is the prized possession and he's the rusty bucket, like that, you know, like he's the afterthought, the whatever. I don't really know how rusty bucket is a good symbol of that, but I'm just trying to think.
We're grasping, but I like it. I like your train of thought. I do definitely think it's a mix. I think some are going to be symbolic and some are literal. And Fair. I'm very curious to find out. And that's all we can really shed light to at this moment. And I hate
Anyways,
that.
keep going. We have
questions.
More.
Drake receives a kitten. And
that one was wild to me. So wild.
That's absolute. I don't know. Outside of just like maybe get in touch with your sensitive side, or maybe this leads him to Mira, or
his
something.
cousin is named Cat. I don't. Is that not? And he got a cat. I don't. Do we think that he doesn't have to protect her in some way, shape, or form, or something? I don't.
Oh, interesting.
I'm surprised that wasn't more straightforward in your mind, at least.
Because I think I'm really stuck on that. I want these things to be more literal than figurative.
True.
Or than symbolic. And so I'm like, no, this cat has to serve some kind of actual purpose. And that is going to feed into my next point, which is our last gift. Unless you have more to say about this. Did you more?
No, I just I would earlier when I was like, oh, the bucket, that was funny, but there's one more that's crazy. It was the cat. That one sent me. I loved and thought it was so weird all at the same time.
Please include a baby animal in any book, and I'm so sold. I'm so there. It's insane. Last gift. Traeger draws a card for the arrow and looks to Cat only after an arrow sinks into his body. Rebecca, give this girl a break. What is your problem?
I know. That was so hard to read. Smoked meat is smoked. He's done, though. He's done. There it is.
Oh no, no, we can't laugh. It's so disrespectful.
No. He's a fictional character. It's fine.
Oh, but I loved him and Kat, and I loved his boldness from the first. Like, maybe you should take a look at what's in front of you instead of pining after what you can't have. And then to them, like, being into each other, to now he is dead. Rip me apart.
Kat doesn't get Xaden. Kat doesn't get Traeger. Kat doesn't. Which, honestly, though, if we're going to be honest, that points back again. I don't think she's going to be with her cousin.
Where Drake needs to take care of her?
Yes. The cat. She is the symbol.
Uh-oh. You're onto something. Chapter 39, Cat screaming is muffled under the sound of, or under Drake's hand. And Violet...
it's already happening.
Wait, you're actually right. Violet struggles to stay upright, and Xaden is yelling through the bond. No one can react, or this death would have been for nothing. This kills me. The squad can only watch as Scylla, Traeger's griffin, takes her last steps and collapses. As Michael Scott says, I am dead inside.
I don't understand, though, how Drake covering Kat's mouth and her acting the way she did doesn't count as reacting.
I know. I didn't. Everybody was reacting big time, and yet they were like... I picture it as the emissaries looking at the audience like, great, isn't it? And then slowly turns around, and that gives everyone just enough time to collect themselves before the emissary looks.
That has to be what it is, because...
Right?
But I would be that annoying person in the audience that was like, she's screaming! She's screaming!
Oh my gosh. You know,
if you think about it...
I've seen your debut in the Polar Express. Hey, isn't he not allowed to do that?
But that's exactly it. It's so, you have to think about it. Okay, I'm taking my tinfoil hat off and putting my realism hat on. Okay. If I'm a part of this aisle, then I think, like, whatever the game is.
You've been conditioned to think. Yeah,
exactly. Like and, like, I want the rules to be followed.
Yeah.
So that is against the rules. I'm not doing it to be annoying. I'm doing it to follow the status quo.
Hey, sir, he doesn't have his ticket.
No. As my... Stick to the status quo, my favorite group of high schoolers once said. Like,
you're going off the deep end here. I cannot. I get it, and I get it, Melissa, but I don't get it. You know?
It's fine. We can move on. I don't really get it either, even though I fully and deeply, truly do.
It is everything in Violet to look the emissary in the eyes and say, thank you.
Oh, that was hard.
I can only imagine how this plays on screen with them just being like naive, having fun, getting these weird little gifts. And next thing you know, Game of Thrones style, arrow goes through Traeger, slow motion. Everyone like slowly turns to look at him falling, and their friend just is murdered. I feel like I'd love to see this on screen though. Chapter 40.
Would I not? I'd love it.
We'd love it. Chapter 40, the squad flies to one of the minor isles with Traeger and Scylla's bodies to burn literally anywhere other than Zelina. Zilna. I'm so sorry. I'll never get that name right. I'm so sorry. Violet notes that she will never pray to Zinel again. And I fully agree. Full endorsement.
It's crazy how quickly, and I know you literally just said this, but I just have to reiterate it for how my own sake and my own mind, just how quickly it went from being like, haha, he got a cat, to a griffin and a friend are dead. Like, the way that I had to just repeat that, even though you said it, is how slow my mind grasped it while reading the book.
Yeah, like, it was so sudden.
It was so sudden, and that's why it was so good. But also, so hard to process, because part of me was like, this is a dream. She's just sleeping. Like, she has to wake
up.
Because that's how quickly that I feel like the dreams that she had with the sage or whatever, like it just felt like boom, boom, boom. And that's what this was. It went from being haha, rusty chum bucket cat to we have to flee. Like, and we have to burn their bodies because we can't do it here. Like, this is insane.
Oh, it's crazy. It's devastating.
And Kat enters like a deep depression. And
I know. Oh, I just felt so awful for her. I could not.
I did too.
So a bit of lightness in this dark, dark time. Drake names the kitten Broccoli and then flirts with Mira in a playful, annoying boy way about Broccoli. I loved this.
I did too. And I also loved, because I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of why Broccoli, and he was like, well, I feel like if I named it something that I needed, then it'd make me like want to be more, care about it more or something. And she's like, it's orange, why didn't you name it Carrot? Like, it was, everything about this was amazing. And now it makes me want to have a cat named Broccoli.
We love oh my gosh, as I read this, I was like, the amount of people that are about to name their cats
Amen.
Broccoli is astronomical at this point in time.
Guilty.
The squad plans out their search of the minor isles and aim to have them kind of all checked out within the next 24 hours. Violet and Riddick stay behind to watch the fire go out, as no offering to Malik should be left unattended. I've not been mentioning this, and maybe I should be. But I figure you guys are all reading this, so I don't know. But there are some very precious moments happening between Violet and Xaden throughout this book, and I'm actually, truly so impressed with the romance. And that's coming from Plot. And I figured I would just nickname myself Plot. If ever you've wondered if I'm Plot or romance, check out any of the episodes we've ever talked about ever, and you'll notice that I basically take so much romance out of the outline because I just want to talk Plot. So I'm Plot.
You heard it here first. We're the L.A.M.E podcast, literary analysis with Melissa and Plot.
Anyways. Oh no, we do a rebrand.
I'm so glad that actually creates another word, though, and it's not just like some weird
the lamp. I love it.
Lamp podcast.
So something big happens now, and we've got to lock in here. Tairn says, in reference to his not being able to talk to Sigale and Violet, she says to him, "Oh well, you'll see Sigale tonight because she's going off with Xaden doing some Isle search." And Tairn says, "I'll say the same when you've been unable to communicate with your mate for weeks." To which Violet responds, "Humans don't mate." First time this was brought up, lightweight, no reaction. Second time this is brought up, something is happening. Mates are happening.
Well, see, I don't know if I want that, though. I think I love that there's such a strong... And this is also coming from someone who is pro-fated mates. Because I know we've talked about it with our Bookbound Besties friends. I've seen it just been referenced a little bit more online. There's actually a pretty large group of people that don't like fated mates because they want... They want there to feel like there's more of a choice, and with the fated aspect, they don't feel like it was ever a choice. And so again, I love fated mates. I do see that argument, and I think Rebecca has done such a great job with this. However, that makes me wonder if it's maybe more of like a Venom thing. They're not fully human.
Wait, stop it.
Okay.
So I have a little theory given to us from a one Piper Chestnut on Discord. And she says, "I'm wondering if Venom have mates." We're on the same page here. You and Piper
my girl.
Yeah. This book so far, Xaden has been jealous and gets super angry when he knows Violet is in danger, to the point Garrick said he has never seen Xaden like this. Now that could obviously just be the Venom side coming out, but what if the Venom part of Xaden recognizes Violet as his mate and his instincts are kicking in when he knows that she's in danger?
That is so interesting. I do really like that theory, and I am very curious to know more. We have not gotten enough. I mean, to be fair, we're not done with the book yet, but we have not thus far gotten enough information on Venom for me to be satisfied and for me to be okay with waiting 2 more years minimum for this next book.
I don't have enough answers to hold me over for 2 years.
We were just, this whole book, I was like, oh, we're going to get more of Venom, maybe even a cure. We have gotten diddly squat, and we are over halfway through this book. And Rebecca, gosh darn it, if we don't get more before this book ends, I think I might for emotional distress. This is ridiculous.
The only, to allow some room for the devil, the only thing that I would caveat this with is that the dragon who's acknowledging a mate is Taryn, and he's obviously not happy about the whole Xaden being Venom situation. So I would be surprised if Taryn was the one acknowledging, like, oh, you have a mate now, and it's him because he's Venom. Like, I feel like it would be Theophany or Berwyn or someone to acknowledge that there's a mating bond going on.
Well, and this just, if anything, it just feels like maybe a subtle nod to maybe potentially getting more in the later. Right. But also, this is not the first time to also allow some room for Satan. This is not the first time that Taryn has communicated with Violet using dragon references or whatever. Like, exactly like you just said, he's a dragon, he has a mate, and he's gonna view Violet and Xaden in the same way he views Sigale, and Sigale is his mate. So it's just the language that he's comfortable with. So which is why it's such a freaking great sign of such a good writing and being a great author, that you see there is logical arguments for both sides. And we really are just stuck with what do we think. I am going to go on the record saying that I think this was just Taryn being Taryn.
Oh, bold.
I know it's bold. And I know because I absolutely see both sides. But
yeah,
I would be shocked if she, third or fourth book into the series, all of a sudden introduced the idea of mates when that has never been a thing. And so that's the only reason. Final answer, locking it in, Taryn being Taryn.
Love it.
But I'm perfectly open to being wrong with this one.
Yeah. We will, only time will tell, and that time, unfortunately, is probably 2 years. So we get a sweet moment between Atrim and Riddick where we kind of get a glimpse into their relationship, and this maybe has not happened before outside of like Violet's relationship with her dragons and Xaden with Sigale. So it was so nice to see what it's like for other writers, because
it was
you don't
fun.
Get that. I loved it.
Yeah,
and they're
agree.
like splashing water on each other. It was cute. It was cute.
Yeah.
Loved it.
It was very cute.
All of a sudden, also, it is all of a sudden. I want everyone to know this. Grant's determined to just never get it right, and he always says all the sudden.
No,
that drives me
all of a
bananas.
Sudden.
All of a sudden, and then he just says it so fast that no one ever catches it. All of a sudden, yeah, okay.
I would catch that. It sounds like he's missing words.
Yes, that's how I know I have caught it, but nobody else is daring enough to correct him except for.
Or you're just all your friends are too nice.
They're too nice.
Mean.
Not me. I'm the bully. So hot air gusts and the sand is splitting, almost like talons are flexing out of nowhere. Then a dragon stands in front of Violet, an invisible to visible dragon. Behind it are more dragons. An Irid, if I will. The Irids have found Violet, and they are talking to her. All of this.
Sent me.
Can I be honest?
Were you confused?
For some reason in my gut, as soon as we got to chapter 40, I was like, there's no way that the Irids don't show up in this chapter. It is too long that we haven't. Like, they're not going to find them on the last isle. That's too, like, obvious to me.
Yeah.
And they would have already found them, obviously, had they been on any other isles. I think that it has to be this chapter. Like, for some reason, the timing and the setting was so correct to me that I was like, they are showing up. There's no doubt. Yeah. Deep in my plums, I knew it was happening.
I was with you. I was like, I didn't know if obviously I assumed Violet would find them, but I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Dane or someone came back and they're like, you've got to come with us. Like, so, but I agree. It was in this search-esque that I figured they would find them. What was not on my bingo cards was the dragons finding them. Like, I thought they would stumble upon them, not that they would show up and
Right.
essentially be like, we knew, we came to you.
Well, I'll tell you what, this was on my bingo card just in this moment, but everything else after this, absolutely not. And so let's get into it. But I do want to jump back just for 1 second. Zinnel, he's the god of luck, right?
Yep.
And we know, per Rebecca's interview, that all the gifts are purposeful. Could Traeger's death have been the only reason that the squad was isolated enough to be approached by the Irids? Did Traeger have to die for them to find him? And so therefore, are all of Zinnel's gifts purposeful?
And, or dare I say, good luck that he died, because that allowed them, the dragons, to come to them by being on those random little isles. So sorry. Wow. That's bold statement. And dare I say, I agree. I think it could be.
I'm going to go one deeper. I've seen a theory that Traeger was someone tending to the cadets in the infirmary right before the Venom attacked in the very beginning of the book. We remember that? But then he's just gone. He vanishes. Where did he go? So someone suggested maybe the arrow was a good thing. Only Zinnel knows. But I don't subscribe to that. I subscribe to the first part. Mm-hmm.
I subscribe to the first part too, because I feel like his character just wasn't integral to any of the plot prior to him being interested in Kat.
Yeah. But you never know. 2 years from now, we might get some reveal that we're like, oh, shoot.
We probably will. She's gonna slap me metaphorically with everything that is gonna come in these next couple books and the rest of this one, honestly.
Amen. Chapter 41. So I could just save us all some time and tell you that the moral of the story is that the Irids are a-holes. But I will get into it because I am not one for a long story short. I'm more someone who is a long story longer. And
aren't we all?
Aren't we all?
If you're here and you say I disagree, dare I say this is not the place for you, because I just recently saw a reel that's like, it was our friend, or not our friend.
Yeah, that girl Maddie.
Yeah. She goes, why would I do a long story short? It's long. Like, I don't remember exactly what she said.
I'm not going to do the disservice of making a story shorter. Yeah. No,
and
I felt like
my ADHD feeling seen.
Oh, amen.
Every detail is important.
The AI bot, when it's like, more, all details, more story, more. That's how I feel.
Give me grander, more dentist, more tooth, like whatever it is.
Yes. So Indarna is front and center with Violet. Taryn and the other dragons have flown off to hunt/search the other isles, etc., etc. The Irids do a high-pitched, painful sliding whistle noise, which is their way of connecting to the humans in order to communicate.
We need to talk about this before you move on. This was so interesting to me, and I don't know, and I'm sure it was to everyone. I don't know how much you're going to go into this or not, but the fact that, I mean, prior to this, you do not communicate with the dragon you're not bonded to. So it was interesting to me to learn that not only is this just an Irid thing, or can all dragons do this? They just don't choose to.
Yeah.
And beyond that, more of my question for Rebecca, why a slide whistle? That is truly why that noise to connect? Like, if this is one of those things where it's just like a creative choice to how to describe it, and we don't ever get more, I might combust. I need to know why she chose that noise, because it's a pretty unique sound.
I had literally no thoughts about it. I'm surprised but I do like the idea, can other dragons do this, and they're just choosing not to. That's interesting.
The reason I wonder if she chose such a unique, borderline annoying noise as that. Well, and also when I picture a slide whistle, I don't picture it being super loud and screechy the way she described it. I picture it being like a fun little woo, like kind of. So I'm like, that would be almost like a fun little like text chime, like woo. Hey, Melissa, are you there? Like that's okay. To me, that's like a fun connection.
To me, I hear slide whistle. Connection. But in my head, I'm hearing, and I'm not going to be able to make the sound, but I'll try my best. It's like a, like higher to the point where it's like a dog piercing level of noise. You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, that's called a dog whistle, and it's a completely different thing.
But they might not have dogums on this, in this book. You know what I'm saying? Dolphinums.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. But, I just...
High-pitched whistle also would have been a good way to describe that. But
like, I'm like, it just feels so specific. I don't know. And I'm focusing way too much on something that does not matter. What we need to be talking about is the fact that they can communicate with or someone that they're not bonded to, and not just unbonded. She is a bonded writer. So it's not even just they can talk to anyone. Like, they can communicate with other people who are already bonded.
Well,
so
and the end of this chapter makes sense to me why they can. So let's carry on.
Yes.
Violet and Riddick are both able to hear the Irids at this point, and they are so rude to Violet, saying that she lacks intelligence and she's too stunned to answer them. And Darna hops in and defends her girl, and that's about the time that Taryn flies back into the picture as well. And so he's kind of standing over them, very Papa-esque, guarding his girls, and I'm in love with him. He is so on my hear me out cake. The Irids do not understand the double bond, but they let it go as they tell Indarna that they've only really come to just talk to her. They start by asking what she's done with her tail, and this is important to me because they're still all feather tails. But I think that Indarna, again, has specifically chosen this tail, and it's brought up specifically here because of the idea that venin is, what was it, German for venom? And the scorpion tail, scorpions often are known to have anti-venom in their tails in real life to prevent poisons. And so I'm curious if this is not the cure.
For sure. My only counter argument is to, like, that, which I desperately want that to be true. But I think if that does end up being the case, the thing that would bother me the most is she made a conscious decision to choose that tail. So I want it, like, and we don't really get in this chapter her reasoning other than she tells them, like, they didn't do this to me, I chose this. So, and like, if she's gonna know that that's the cure, is she gonna be quiet about it this whole time, like, really
maybe
making
she doesn't
them go
know,
through this song?
though.
Well, so that's my saying, if she doesn't know, then that's fine. Why did she choose this tail then? Like, that's what I want to know. Like,
you're so right.
That's my only issue, I think, with that being true. Even though I want that to be the case.
Yeah,
but I guarantee you Rebecca can write it into where I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. I'll never question you again. Continue.
Of course. So, and Darna says she chose her tail, as is her right. And again, this is when Violet notices that all of the Irids are just feather tails, which makes sense again to when we get to the end of this chapter. They ask how she came to choose this tail, and she basically reads them Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. Yeah. Each detail leaves them clutching their pearls even harder. Eye roll. Are you kidding me? The Irids lose their marbles when they find out that Indarna bonded as a juvenile, and Tarn jumps in to defend her, but Indarna spits back. Do not ruin this for me. Oh. He is hurt. I am hurt.
Yeah.
This was not great to read.
No, this is not going well.
No. The Irids are appalled to find out Indarna used her juvenile gift, the time-stopping one, on a human, and it's at this point that we find out the Irids, and there are hundreds of them, do not live amongst humans. They don't bond. They don't have relationships. By the time Indarna is done with her story, they are pissed at Violet for taking her into war and having her channel as a juvenile. On top of that, they notice Indarna's wing, and they're just like, I'm just really disappointed. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
The worst
Which is worse.
way to possibly say that, I know.
They speak to themselves in private and come back with heart-shattering responses. It turns out that they left Indarna kind of as a gauge on this continent to see how the humans were progressing. Violet, as a human who kind of represents the rest of the humans, has failed their test, and they are still waging war. They accuse Violet of using Indarna and her power as an instrument of warfare, forcing her premature growth and turning her into a weapon. Turns out, their whole thing, their whole breed, born for peace. And so that makes all the sense to me why they're not unwilling to talk to anybody else, because they're not like, mine and mine only. Yeah. It makes sense why they're only feather tails. They've never had to shape their tails into anything for destruction. They're just peaceful dragons, sorry.
Yeah.
So, notes? Any notes?
Yeah, yes. It does. This whole thing really did just piss me off too, though. their logic wasn't sound enough for me. Like, I do understand. I think they made some good points. Like, I think without understanding the full context, their thoughts of, it doesn't seem like you guys are really ready for peace. It seems like you're just out for victory, like that whole spiel.
Yep.
I get it coming from someone who hasn't experienced all of it, but at the same time, it feels like they're making really rash judgments. And if they truly want peace, they're gonna, you don't just get peace by sticking your head in the sand, like, which is what they're doing. They're hiding. They're never gonna. And again, too, they are foolish if they don't think that at some point everyone, the Venom, are gonna wipe out everyone, and then who's gonna be left? So, like, while I think you can be peaceful and want peace, there are times where the only way to achieve that is by partnering with the lesser of two evils, I think.
Right.
And they are in, which it's easy for us to say because we've been following the point of views for 2.5 books, but they truly do just want, and this group is different than Navarre. Like, they're not the leadership of Navarre. They really do just want truth and peace for everyone. So it was really hard to read because it was really frustrating. It felt like all of the progress we've been making, and really all these books, just got like the door was just slammed in our faces. So that's just how I felt.
I know.
At the end of this.
It felt very defeating, but then I was just putting all my trust in Rebecca to redeem this some way, somehow, because this whole book can't be for nothing, you know?
Exactly.
It has to take us somewhere.
I mean, there's still a handful of chapters left, so.
To your point, too, and Darna specifically says, wouldn't you fight with us so that we can be afforded the peace that you have been so privileged to have? And they're like, I don't really feel like it.
It's so funny that you say that, because that's exactly what I was going to do if you didn't.
Yeah. So then the Irids says to Atrim and Tern, Dragonkind has not learned its lesson either. While you gifted your human with ice, he's talking to Atrim, and you, to Tern, armed yours with lightning. This is important to me. He did not say, and you gifted yours with lightning. He said you armed yours with lightning. And I think the wording is so specific because armed means she could have a lot more in the armory of this gift. So
it also, to give room for Satan, make space for Satan, it could be that he just gave a whole spiel about how they're warriors and all they want to do is fight. And so he's saying you armed her because she's a weapon. Just saying. Actually, to me, it would be if he had said something like you armed her with power of the sky, or if he had referenced it again, like what has already been said, that would be bigger to me. But he specifically said lightning. So on one hand, to me, it's like, well, they're so far removed. What he says doesn't really matter. But on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe Rebecca's really just honing this in that people just say it differently, but her signet is just lightning. So if anything, the way he said that confused me more than anything else.
Could be something. Could be something. Could be nothing. Then everybody, he looks at Indarna and he says, you, our very hope, have handed this human something far more dangerous to wield, haven't you?
Oh, I know.
Signet 2 is coming, baby.
Signet 2 is here, but I'm so irritated that it's not so obvious to me already what it is.
Well, and it's not obvious to Violet either, so it's like...
Which is why it's not obvious to us.
Exactly, because we are
Violet.
It's crazy. All right, guys, last chapter of the day. Violet is quick on it. She says, handed me what? And I am screaming, handed her what? But
agreed. I too am screaming it.
The Irids ignore her as they continue to say that they're not going to help in this war because they don't feel it's peace that the humans seek, but victory.
Oh, I got a little ahead of myself.
And Darna emphasizes how they need the Wardstone fired or people will die. And the Irids basically say, okay, so die. Starting over would be better anyways.
Yeah. Oh, that pissed me off.
I know. And Indarna then screams, is that the Dark Wielder's cure, to start over and just evolve? And the Irids say words I did not expect at all. There is no cure.
Oh, I hate that.
The more
that you say there is no cure, the more I feel like there is a cure.
I know. But that's okay, guys, because actually, I do have a theory about a cure. But We are too early in this book for me to give it to you. So sadly, it's not going to be this episode, but tune in. I think it's the next one.
Just teasing us.
I know. The Irids watch as Xaden and Garrick approach, and Darna asks if they'll tell them how the Dark Wielders were defeated in the Great War, and they say, apparently they weren't, if you're asking me now. That is so disrespectful.
This is absolute sarcastic response. Like, no one asked for that, actually.
I know. And Darna pushes back, saying she can burn the venom, so they have, like, our kind has to be the key. And the Irids are like, we have heard enough. They start to leave, telling Andarna with parting words that she's Irid in name and in scale only, but she's a disappointment to them, and she is not welcome to their den.
Oh my gosh.
I am crushed for her. This whole chapter
me too.
Is crushing me. Oh,
I feel so sad for her.
I know. So Violet tries to comfort Andarna, and at that moment, the Irids that held back for a second slide whistle Xaden and Garrick into the conversation. I don't know if you remember me saying, but they just pulled up. They ask Violet again if she knew that she bonded an adolescent, and though Violet's answer is honorable, saying like, no, I had no idea, I would not have done that, we don't have a lot of knowledge about them, everything is thrown off when the Irids see the rims of Xaden's eyes that shine bright red. They are appalled, and they are appalled that Andarna aligned herself with this abomination, and the rest of the Irids fly away.
Which, that drives me absolutely crazy. If they are so appalled that much by Dark Wielders, how uncompassionate is that?
Yeah.
How, like, apathetic do they have to be to then just be, like, not willing to do anything to help? Like, that just pisses me off.
I know. It's so awful. It's so awful, and I feel like if they had any empathy at all, they would recognize, but for such a peace-loving group, they're really jerks.
Their self-awareness
They're just jerks. Yeah. Violet then tries to comfort Xaden from that abomination comment, but he immediately shuts her out. She turns to Andarna, who also immediately shuts her out. And yikes, my whole world is crumbling as I am Violet, and her whole world is crumbling.
Yeah.
Then comes Riddick, who absolutely saw everything that just happened, Xaden's eyes, all of it, and he gives Violet one and only one chance to explain exactly what is happening. And that is where we leave off today.
Oh man, you guys, this next episode, this one was great, but this next episode is going to be so good.
I know. I cannot wait.
It keeps getting better and better, this book. Jeff's kiss. Jeff and Jeff. All the kisses.
Yes. So guys, have a great week. Join us next week as we deep dive chapters 43 through 48 through 48. 43 through 48. Oh, I've been talking too much. And yeah, that's all we've got. So like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, and send us your theories so we can discuss. And yes, have a great rest of your week. Bye.